At every single stage of my life, I felt as though I'm falling behind, that everyone is rushing past me in the race of life, and I'm too slow or stupid or stuck to catch up. That feeling never really inspired me to chase faster or harder to catch up to everyone else. It just filled me with a deep sense of loss of confidence, loss of time, of happiness, of purpose, of myself. And the only lesson that it taught me is that I'm not good enough. That no matter how much I try, I'll never catch up because everyone will always be ahead, acquiring wealth, status, happiness, success in a way that constantly feels just out of my reach. I'm a South Asian girl, and I've always felt that so many of our cultural habits are based on comparison. Comparing grades, skin color, weight, lifestyle, and almost every other aspect of a person you can imagine. I think I internalized that comparison until it became impossible for me to think outside of it, to live in another way. They teach you the importance of learning at school, but they never teach you the importance of unlearning. How to unlearn bad habits, bad thoughts, bad ways of living. I've realized that whenever I feel like a failure, at the root of it all is this unhealthy comparison that I've grown up with, that is all around me constantly. So I started to ask myself, what if I remove myself from this race of life that I never asked to be a part of in the first place? What if there's no one left for me to compare myself to? What if it's just me alone with all my hopes and dreams and longings? What then? This realization is when, for perhaps the first time in my life, I started to feel a sense of calm. I was no longer in a race against others, against time, against myself. I suddenly stopped hating myself for all the ways I perceived I'd been holding myself back and failing, and started thinking about how much I'd brought myself forward. The fact that I was still trying despite all the setbacks, still hopeful, which meant that deep down, beneath all the layers of self-doubt and the extensive portfolio of my failures, I knew I still had it in me to become the best version of myself. All I had to do was silence the noise around me and tune into myself. I had to speak to myself with kindness and compassion, tell myself how proud I am, not only of any achievements, but also of all the failures, because they're proof that I've lived, that I'm willing to try, that I have the courage to keep picking myself up every time I'm knocked down. I had to reach for my inner child, who I'd criticized and knocked down so heavily, and I had to hold them steady and tell them, with patience and understanding, that I know all they've ever wanted is to feel loved, safe, seen, and that they don't have to earn that, and they don't need to try so hard to fit in or abide by these impossible societal expectations, because they're worthy and loved and respected simply because they exist. And they're too complex and brilliant for any one label to define them, including failure. Especially failure, because they have so much left to experience, explore, live, and learn and go through, and there will undoubtedly be good and bad, but that none of it defines them. No singular experience or mistake or even accomplishment defines us. We are so much more than what we do, than our past, than our failures, than our successes. The human mind is the most powerful thing in existence. Every piece of technology, work of art, book written, once existed in someone's mind. Human thoughts are so powerful, and what we think of ourselves has the power to shape our life. Sometimes we need to take a step back and question ourselves on the kind of things we're thinking and why. Who has put these thoughts into our head, and why do they have such a hold on us? Why are we struggling to let go? The truth is that none of our thoughts or even memories are a fact. They are all based on our perception, which means they can change at any moment. This means the power is in our own minds. How can we be failures if we have all this power, If we're in possession of the most powerful thing on the planet, the human mind, perhaps all we really have to do is change the way we perceive ourselves. Maybe one of the greatest adventures and journeys that you can go on as a human is to take back your mind, to rip it free from the clutches of negativity and competition and comparison, so that we're no longer in a race that we all seem to be stuck in, but nobody really ever wins at. And maybe once our mind is finally ours again, and no longer so wrapped up in all the ways we don't measure up, we can finally focus on building ourselves up, on nurturing our mind, body, and soul with a gentle patience instead of harsh, unrelenting criticisms and perfect standards, which we were never supposed to meet, because humans are destined for many things, but perfection is never going to be one of them. What if I change my perception of it all? What if I start to understand that my failures are a redirection to finding my true path, to becoming my higher self, to building myself up to succeeding in ways I couldn't have imagined? So it's simply not possible for you to be a failure. You can fail, yes, but you cannot be labeled a failure, because failing is only ever going to be one small part of your journey. And I have a feeling that in hindsight, you'll thank your failures for helping you become the person you were meant to become, for teaching you all the lessons you learned, for pushing you to become the best version of yourself, for motivating you to act, for showing you the value of success, for teaching you that you are capable of achieving anything if you're willing to simply keep going. So just keep going.